Please join me in welcoming back to the stage Roee Messinger and welcoming Esaw Snipes. Thank you both very much for being here, and I'd also like to give special thanks to the family of Eric Garner, who's in the audience tonight, and we're very honored to have you. Thank you for sharing the film. I am sure that the audience has a lot of questions, as do I. I'll start off with a few, and then we can open it up. Can you talk just a little bit about the origins of this film, how it came together, how, I mean, it's a brilliant idea for a film about a subject that really requires visibility. It's a subject that we need to continue to talk about and think about, and it's still very present with us. And I just wondered how the idea for making a documentary in this way developed.
So I was in film school when Eric Garner was killed. It was a summer between my first and second year. And it just was hard to not think about. It was everywhere. It was, yeah, it was just something, that's all I thought about for a good while. And then when I was already in my second year, the non-indictment decision came. It's hard to hear. Oh, I should put the microphone near my mouth. Yeah. Yeah. So what I said was that Eric Garner was killed when I was in between my first 2 years of film school. And I was living in, I just moved to New York a year before that, and it just hit me on a very, I guess, like I would say, personal level. It was hard for me to think about anything else. Hard for me to wrap my head around it. It became worse when the non-indictment came through in December of 2015. And honestly, I was at the gym and just thinking about it, and it just occurred to me that I was living in New York, that every person who would have testified in this trial that would have happened if they decided differently, that all those witnesses are probably within 10-mile radius of where I was, and it probably wouldn't be that difficult to find them. And then if I had the witnesses, all I'd have to do is find attorneys who would just take on the case, and that it would work as a movie. And then I graduated a few months later. It was Eric's death. It was the one year anniversary rally of Eric's death, and I met Esaw at that rally. I told her that I had an idea for a movie about her husband, and we started working together 2 weeks after that. That was 4 years ago.
Esaw, what was your experience like upon first meeting Roee and being presented with this idea for this film, and how did your feelings about this project?
For me, it wasn't really about the actual project, because I'm not a filmmaker. I don't know what people want to watch. I'm a watcher, I'm not a movie maker. So, him coming to me with the idea, I think I kind of brushed him off at first, but his sincerity, like so many people had approached me that particular day, you know, with this idea and a book and this and that. But all I could see in their eyes were dollar signs. I didn't see any sincerity. I didn't see any empathy for me or what my family was going through. You know, for you guys, it's a movie. For me, it's my life. Like, you know, I deal with this every day. You know, I have my grandchildren, I have my children. It's like, it's really hard, you know? But there was something about Roee that struck me in more of a, not even a producer type aura. It was like, you know, I would really like to sit down and talk to you and, you know, see how you feel about this and that. And I had a lot of cards that day, and for some reason, his card went in my wallet with my money. So it was like, you know, you're gonna see this card again. You know, you go buy a soda or anything, but all the rest of the cards were in my bag, just scattered around. But his card particularly went into where I keep my money, and I'm like, wow, let me give him a call. And I gave him a call, and we talked on the phone for like maybe an hour or so the first time, you know, and I just felt like he cared. You know, it wasn't about $1 for him. You know, it was about, you know, of course, getting his recognition as a producer or as a movie maker or whatever, and, you know, he wanted this to be his first big project, and I think he did a great job. Okay. You know, even though it was quite emotional for me, as you can see, knowing that it was just an act, I was ready to fight. I don't know. I was just ready to go at everybody. And Roe's like, you all right, Esaw? And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't, you know. But I'm glad I stuck it out. I'm glad I was strong enough to you know, go through it, because to me it's like going through it all over again. Like all them parts of the movie, I never saw them parts of the video before. You know, my kids wouldn't let me watch it. I didn't want to watch it. You know, I'd rather remember him driving off that day and saying, I'll see you later, babe. I don't want to remember anything else after that. And basically that's what did it for me, you know, and we've become friends, and you know, he's always there for me if I want to call and talk. You know, he comes to all my family events. You know, he become part of the family. You know, we love him, and we hope that this goes far and opens up more projects for him. And I'll be there to support you 100%.
Can you both talk about working with the other participants in the film, the lawyers and the other witnesses and the jury that was selected, and how did you identify these people and bring them in? And
well, I didn't know anybody, you know. He just bring me in like, Esaw, you got to be here from this time to this time. Can you make it? When he bring me in to meet the lawyers, they were very nice and very open and as sincere. And they did a great job also. And, you know, I just, you know, they opened, you know, they made me feel welcome. They made me feel comfortable. You know, I didn't feel like I was being pressured or anything. And it was just, it was a great experience for me.
So, you know, we filmed the trial in one day. And all the other original footage that we made was shot in, I think, 3 or 4 additional shooting days altogether. But one of the reasons this was such a long process was because it was the preparation and this kind of very unusual work that went into it that made this become, you know, a project that lasted over, you know, work that lasted over so long. Also money, but lack thereof. But there was also a lot of preparation that went into it. And so specifically with the attorneys, I must have emailed, I just Googled attorneys, and I must have emailed hundreds of attorneys and interviewed probably a good 2 or 3 dozen in person before we reached this cast of 4 attorneys. And first of all, this kind of has never been done before, so it's not like there was a guidebook of how to find attorneys who would do a fictional courtroom drama for you. And so I also wasn't quite sure at first what I was looking for in terms of casting. Tom and Steve were the first ones to join. We had this event, Esaw was there too, where we did a mock trial, kind of like see how they felt about it and how the audience felt about it. And it worked, and they were the first to join. Priya came after that when we needed to find we started build the defense, and Robert was the last to join. And I couldn't ask for a better cast of attorneys, and if any of you do something you shouldn't do, you should hire them, for sure. And in terms of all in terms of the witnesses, again, that was just a lot of work, finding the right people. The first it came from the attorneys. We want an eyewitness. We want a forensic pathologist. Tom and Steve asked specifically for Dr. Bodden, who, for obvious reasons, because he was involved in the case, in the real, well, not the real criminal case, but the real civil case. And then we found Dr. Hua online because we needed someone to counter, and someone who would have, who would be as convincing as Dr. Bodden, and as experienced as Dr. Bodden. That was definitely hard. And so yeah, that was kind of the, I guess, unorthodox way of casting for this film.
Could you talk a bit about the decision not to include the verdict of the trial in the film?
If everyone promises not to discuss it afterwards.
You don't have to tell.
No, sure. No, I just mean, don't tell anyone that there's no verdict yet.
Kind of ruined that.
Exactly.
You heard me? My daughter said,
You was loud.
The decision not to include the verdict was a decision that I reached very early on, because I think that the merit of this film is in its objectivity, meaning that I hope that no one in the audience can dismiss this as liberal propaganda, or say that we made a show trial, and all this filmmaker was looking for is to convict Daniel Pantaleo. I didn't care about convicting Pantaleo. It's not like I'm really putting him in prison or anything like that. It's about the process. It's about it's about the fact that this case was tried in the media in a very shallow way, because that's what the media can do. It was tried on Twitter and Facebook, on CNN and Fox News, and these proceedings, being tried by a jury of your peers, and going through these pieces of evidence thoroughly, and have teams of attorneys arguing over them and showing the different aspects of them. That's what never happened, and I felt that the film as it stands now is, at least the way I see it, is a hypothetical version of the real trial that could have happened. If there is a verdict, it becomes my verdict, as opposed to a possible verdict. And that's the line that I didn't want to cross, because I thought it would hurt the film.
I want to open it up to the audience. I believe we have a microphone coming around, so I'll raise your hand and I'll identify you, and then the mic will come to you. Yes.
Hi. You said that it was unscripted, and so how did the attorneys put their cases together? Did they? Oh, thank you. So you said it was unscripted. So how did the evidence in the case, how did they put it together? I assume they weren't given the police records, and that you weren't given all of that information. So what did they use to put their case together? And did you have a legal consultant with respect to the evidence and the evidentiary rulings?
Right, so in terms of the unscripted part of it, every trial I have found in my preparation for this film and in the work that I've done with the attorneys, every trial is essentially partly scripted in the sense that no attorney asks a question that they don't know what answer to expect. And of course, when they go up to question the witness, they obviously know what questions they're going to ask. And so in that respect, given that they worked on it as they would on a real case, I guess you could say that the attorneys are the people who wrote the screenplay of this film, even though there was no actual screenplay. Even the testimony of Anthony as Officer Pantaleo was not scripted. What we did was we had made a list of facts that were undisputed, and then we agreed, all the attorneys agreed, that they can only ask the actor about those facts. And so his performance, which is incredible in my opinion, is completely improvised. Even that moment where he says that, oh, why didn't you plead guilty here? Oh, it was my union rep told me and he didn't understand it, but like that was improvised, that was on the spot, that was not scripted. And so that's in terms of the script, or the lack thereof. And in terms of the evidence and the documents, I kind of served as the lawyer's paralegal, and I got them what they needed. And so all the evidence that you see in the jury instructions in the end, the autopsy report, the patrol guide, the CCRB complaints that were leaked, all that is the real documents that we were able to put our hands on.
Yes, right over here, does the mic come and go?
Thank you. I'd like to ask a question that wasn't clear to me in the film. It may seem like a minor point, but I think it goes to the whole issue of why the police were there in the first place and felt like they had to put their hands on Mr. Garner. At one point it's stated that he was sent there by headquarters and he had to make this arrest. Now, there's been plenty of evidence or testimony in, for example, in Matt Taibbi's book about it, that there were many, many witnesses saying that he was not selling cigarettes. And so is it really true that he had to proceed with this alleged instruction, even though there seemed to be no evidence of any kind of criminal activity taking place?
So it's not my place to say what is true or what is not true. What I can say is that that is Officer Pantaleo's, or former Officer Pantaleo's version, and that's that was corroborated by his attorney. So when we spoke to his attorney and we asked him about that exact question, why did he proceed with and not just give a ticket, that was the answer that was given, that
He was instructed by his superior to make that arrest that day.
yes.
Yes.
I was just building on that, the question that this gentleman just asked. Why did the, oh, sorry. Building on the last question, I was just curious why the legal team didn't want to explore the issue of, motive for the arrest and kind of getting into that more, and the issue of, trying to de-escalate things and approach them that way.
This is a movie. Like, you guys are asking questions that, can only be answered if you had followed the real trial and the real arrest and the real firing of Daniel Pantaleo, which my daughter worked very hard, But these questions that you're asking are questions that we're not in a place to answer. We're really not. He's trying to be nice about it, but you ask the questions that we really can't answer. That's just the bottom line. If you're gonna ask us some questions, ask us some questions about what you saw tonight, because bringing in stuff could cause a whole lot of controversy that we ain't really ready for right now.
have time for one or two more questions. This is the gentleman's hand right there.
Thank you for the film. I thought it was really, really, really great. My condolences for you.
Thank you.
My heart goes out for you
Thank you.
in terms of what you've done. I think that on a commentary level, I think that you've changed the whole atmosphere of what's going to happen in terms of police brutality and the whole thing. You know, my tears, I mount up because of the fact is that that's what needs to happen in our whole society in terms of what needs to change in the correction department. And, you know, it's a springboard in terms of what's going to be changing in this whole society, revolving in terms of what your son and the loss of him is going to do.
My husband.
Which is really, 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 really great. And thank you for,
Her husband.
you know,
Her husband. Her husband.
Oh,
Husband.
Where you want
oh,
Yeah.
okay. your
Eric
husband.
Garner was my husband, not my
Okay.
son.
Okay. And I think that's gonna really, really, really springboard everything in terms of what's going to really, really, really do.
Thank
And
you.
that's what needs to be done in this American cultural society. So thank you so much. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for the film producer.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any questions, this gentleman right here, he wants to make.
How you doing, Esaw? I'm Chucky Berkeley. You know I've been with you, your family.
How are you?
I'm okay, and I'm glad you're doing a little bit better, because this is something you'll never get over. But there was a question, and I'm glad you let the audience know that there was questions that Roee or no one else can answer. I'm one of the persons that can answer it, retiring from NYPD. However, what I wanted to say is that when it was said that Pantaleo's lawyer said that he was sent by a supervisor, that is totally false. Because as a retired New York City detective and cop, if a boss, a supervisor, was to order someone to make an arrest, the supervisor would be there because the supervisor has to supervise the arrest. So in my 20 years of NYPD, no one ever got an order from one police plaza to go out in the street and make an arrest. That is totally
Well, that was
false.
kind of an exaggeration. Come on, give us a break. It's a movie.
No.
That was an exaggeration. We
That's
know
what the lawyer said. That's
that
what
it
his lawyer
wasn't
said.
No, that's what he said, his lawyer, Pantaleo's
That's
lawyer.
That's what Stuart
Oh,
London
wow.
said.
I stand corrected. Ooh.
And what I'm here to tell you is that is totally false. All right, there is a blue wall of silence, right? And I've been trying to fight that and break that wall for the 20 years that I was on NYPD, and it still exists. All right, what you all need to know is that not all police officers, but some police officers lie, and the police department takes up for them. That is not false. That is totally true.
Thank you.
I see, one other gentleman in the back there.
One more.
Yes, come on.
All right. First of all, I have a compliment. I stand with the family, and you guys got all my strength with you. I also want to say that this film was excellent. You had my emotions like up and down, and I was really hating the the lawyer lady. So I want to she did a good job, and the rest of the cast, and I just want to compliment you for doing an excellent job, and I also want to state that you gave Esaw some kind of, not closure, but some kind of, how can I say? Not platform, but
He gave me friendship. That's what he gave me. He gave me someone to talk to, and to help with the film. We talked on a personal level, and a lot of the stuff that came out was really my emotions. Like, I was not acting. I was, you know, and he had to keep telling me, Esaw, it's a movie, it's a movie. I was ready to jump off the stand and beat people up and curse people out and everything, walk out, the judge, I was mad at everybody. You know, but he kept me calm, and you know, he kept me cool, and I kept saying, okay, for you, Roee, I'm gonna calm down just for you. You know, and I told him, when I get ready to go, I'm going. You know, don't try to stop me, just let me go, because I get real ugly sometimes. So, yeah.
Exactly, and also like, you know, for Officer Pantaleo, you know, in the movie, you kind of gave her, former officer, not Daniel Pantaleo. You gave her some kind of him explaining himself, you know, and that's all us, because I'm also a survivor of police brutality. My husband was killed as well. But that's all we want as families. We want to know, you know, what was their intent, what they were thinking at that moment. So you gave her that, and I feel for you. I feel for the whole Eric Garner family, and I
feel for you too.
Thank you. I applaud you.
Thank you.
We're almost out of time, but there is this one gentleman in the back who has a question.
Thank you very much. I'm actually one of the organizers of many anti-police brutality demonstrations in the New York area. One thing I thought as a takeaway watching this film was that even though it wasn't overtly stated, it was a question of how extreme violence by law enforcement is so legitimized in this society, particularly against Black and Latino people, and other people of color, particularly Native Americans and immigrants. And we see that trend developing even greater today. But I'll leave that comment. I just want to raise an issue of a filmmaker that we should recognize who hasn't been mentioned in relationship to this incident of Eric Garner's killing. And that person's name is Ramsey Orta. Correct?
Oh, yeah.
Ramsey Orta is a brave young man who did the video of the murder of Eric Garner.
And without him, he would have been, excuse my language, but there's another dead Black man on the streets of Staten Island. Had that video had not been recorded, they could have said anything, anywhere, anyhow, and we would have been none the wiser. They could have said it was an asthma attack, and boom, that would have been over. But because of Ramsey Orta, you're right, we should have did some type of acknowledgement. But without actually speaking to him, you know, with him being locked up and everything, you know, it was hard for us to even try to put him in the film or anything. But we do acknowledge, and we do, whenever we see him, he gets grand amount of hugs and love from my grandchildren, from my children, from friends and family. We do thank him immensely. Immensely, yes, we do.
Thank you, my sister. I just want to add one more thing, is that you mentioned that he's in prison. This is something that people can speak to me. I have two other colleagues here who have been involved in the anti-police brutality struggle. In fact, one thing is that, why is Ramsey Orta in prison? Because
he told the truth.
Because he told the truth. And because of that, his family and himself was harassed and set up on a lot of bogus charges. And he's now in the New York State correctional system and continues to be harassed. And so it's something that I think people who are of conscience should find out, not only about seeking justice for the murder of Eric Garner, but also seeking justice for this brave young man, Ramsey Orta.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Esaw Snipes Garner. I'm the youngest daughter of Eric Garner. My mom can't answer the gentleman's question. During the CCRB trial, it was revealed that Ramsey Orta, he did record the video. We are not taking that away from him. Ramsey Order is not in jail because he recorded Eric Garner's video. He's not in jail for that. He's in jail for a completely different reason. We have spoken to Ramsey Order. We've been in contact with him. Erica worked very closely with Ramsey Order. We thank him for recording the video. Ramsey Order also receives royalty every time my father's video is played. So I think that, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been acknowledged in this video, but he's acknowledged every time my father's video is played. So he gets due respect for what he's done for my father, and I will always applaud Ramsey Order. And I always feel like people try to bring in Ramsey Order like we're shunning him. We did not put Ramsey Order in jail. We are not lawyers, we are not police, we are not any of that. We didn't ask for activism, we didn't ask for this life. We were thrust into this because of Daniel Pantaleo and the other officers involved. So, you know, it's kind of unfair to say, oh, Ramsey Order is in jail because of Eric Garner, because he's not. We appreciate him for the video. We appreciate him for standing there and recording it with the heart to stand there and record it, because they could just as very well choke Ramsey Order out that day as well. And it's a shame that he is harassed, because anybody who is a witness is harassed. So I just wanted to come up to clarify that, because, you know, it's unjust, but I just want to clarify that he is not in jail because he recorded the Eric Garner video. And that's a misconception that we hear a lot, and I just wanted to clear that up. We appreciate Ramsey Order and his family. We really do, but Eric Garner is not the reason why he's in jail. The reason why Eric Garner's story is able to be told like this is because Ramsey Order. So we have to, like, you know, differentiate, you know, what the real story is behind it. This film was a real film of what should have happened, and all of the emotion was real. And I applaud Roee, because he has stood by us. He has stood by everything. Even when they told him to stop filming the film, they tried to stop production on the film. They asked us to tell him to stop filming the film. And I'm like, no, I'm not asking him. I said, I would never call him and ask him anything like that. Never. I said, because nobody else gets stopped for what they're doing. Lawyers, the prosecution, the federal judge. I don't know who this lawyer was that called me and said that the video needs to stop production.
It was the
Justice Department. Yeah, Justice Department saying to stop the film. So that's real. You know what I'm saying? So we refused to stop, and I was like, you know, don't stop. Like, this is really focusing on the victims, and the victims are important.
When we had the first
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
With the Department of Justice, and they said that we couldn't record anything, and lo and behold, my warrior daughter Erica, rest in peace, recorded the whole thing, and it was on tweet and everything before we even got out of the meeting, and they were talking about arresting her and taking her to jail and all that. She said, Ma, I don't care. She was like, I don't care. The world needs to know that they're full of anarchy and they're not gonna do anything about Daddy's case. And she fought so hard to get justice for her dad. And then my daughter and my son took over, you know, and it's been a roller coaster. There's good moments, there's bad moments. Me, I have a bad day almost every day, but I try to smile and, you know, keep it pushing. And I want to thank all you guys for coming out. I appreciate the love, continue to support. We're trying to pass an Eric Garner law, so we have a petition. You guys, what is it?
Change.org.
Change.org. You guys go on and sign the petition, and not only, you know, the chokehold is banned, but we want to make it like law, federal law, and 25 years to life for violating anybody in a chokehold by a police officer, anywhere, anyhow, 25 years to life, automatic. So change.org, go sign the petition, and let's pass this Eric Garner law so they can't do this to another family.